Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special preview episode of Mounties Midweek. On today's episode, we will speak with all 4 fall coaches and see their outlooks on the season. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back to the Mounties Midweek Preview Show. Let's continue now and talk Sprint football as we have Sprint football head coach John Evans joining the program. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
So this year, you came off last year a record-setting year, but not where you ultimately wanted to be.
Right.
What is the next step for this program?
Well, I think we need to go out and win our first 3 this year like we didn't do last year. We got off on the wrong foot. We were very young. We're young again this year, but I think that we got the guys where we need them to get where we need to be this year.
So talking about that youth, that next step that they have to make, that these freshmen who came in and had significant time, they now go into that upper echelon of technically an upperclassman on your team. Mm-hmm. How important is their leadership role this year?
Well, it's very. I mean, we're very heavy freshmen, sophomores this year. We've got 35 sophomores and not too many less freshmen. So their leadership defensively, we're very young. We've got all sophomores starting on D, and which is good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you mentioned that defense was very good last year. Of course, the reigning newcomer of the year and a great defensive player, got a couple awards, Brandon Allen, in that defense. How important are those defensive backs? Because you have a lot of talent. Dewan Bowie also back there, a key returner. So what do you expect on that defensive back core?
Well, defensive backs are crucial in this league because it's a passing league, obviously, and the teams Army, Navy, Cornell, and Penn are going to throw the ball 60% of the time. So we got to have the guys that can go out there and defend and make plays.
And absolutely. And then the defensive line, again, I love talking sprint football because there's more strategy in it. You can't just bully your way through. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about defense, and then we'll get into the offensive line. But a defensive line and linebackers, they're the same weight as the guys they're going against. Mm-hmm. So how important really is that technique aspect, and how much do you focus on that technique aspect, especially early in the season?
Well, it's very important. I mean, I think our defensive line, and I'm not being prejudiced, is the best in the league. We returned 2 all-league guys on the line in Chase Mosier and Kane Berger. So they're very crucial. But leverage is big in this league. You know, the low man wins.
Yeah, and then on the offensive line side, a unique coaching for that offensive line. Tristan Sissio comes in, was a player last year, was one of those senior captains, mm-hmm. and is now transitioning to coaching that offensive line. Have you seen that transition for him be easy?
It is, because he's a natural at what he does. He was like a coach on the field for us last year. So it is. Offensive line was our biggest need this year in recruiting, and I can honestly say we go too deep on the offensive line this year. So I don't think it's as tough of a transition for Tristan as it would be for somebody else.
And one big bright spot for this team is at the skill positions. Your running backs, your receivers, you have a lot of talent. Plus DJ McLean, the all-time leading receiver, coming back to this program for his senior season. What does it mean to the offense? Let's start to get him back.
Well, it's huge, obviously. He's been one of the most respected receivers in the league for 3 years. So to have him back and to have him healthy is just big for us.
And then his leadership style for the younger receivers, what have you seen in that?
He's another one that at some point he will be a great coach. He's a mentor. He's a leader. He's not selfish, and the guys are learning a lot from him.
So if there was a question mark coming into this year, it was at the quarterback position. Adam Hutchison graduates, and you have a couple of new faces come in. In that battle, what have you seen? Who has stood out early? I know it's very early, only a couple practices in, but who has stood out in that department?
Well, it's a tough position, and we just had a meeting. I don't think we're going to know until after the Navy scrimmage next week. We've got Dylan Comich, a transfer from Ithaca College. Roberto Santiago from Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania, and most recently Kobe Peacock from Jersey Shore that are challenging. So I think we're going to give them all equal reps at Army or at Navy and see who surfaces.
So now let's go into some expectations for this year. You already mentioned you want to win those first 3 games, but what is then going to be the key, especially with a young team and something that you ran into last year that was they got to realize when the game comes on, they can't have the big eyes and they have to focus. What is the key to making a young team understand that?
Well, I think we open up at Caldwell in a couple of weeks, and they didn't win it. They haven't won a game in 2 years. We obviously don't want to be their first, and I think it's just keeping the guys focused. We're fortunate we scrimmage Navy next weekend, and that's big. I mean, they're the bar in our league, the team to beat, and I think we're going to get a good look and a good barometer at ourselves next weekend.
And then let's look at the season as a whole. What are your main goals, your main expectations for this team?
Week by week. You know, and we don't want to look beyond. I tend to look beyond a little bit and think we can be in pretty good shape, but we got to get by Caldwell. And then we got Chestnut Hill coming in here the following week, which is not a easy opponent. They may be down a little bit this year, but Coach Pearson's got them ready to go, I'm sure.
All right, Coach. Best of luck this season.
Thanks, Drew.
And thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Mounties Midweek rolls along after this. Do not go anywhere.
Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference.
Oh, what a play!
18 universities.
How competitive is this?
23 championships.
It's over. We have new PSAC champs.
7,100 student athletes. Make the PSAC yours.
My PSAC is passion.
My PSAC is pride.
PSAC is Pennsylvania.
Passion, pride, Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference.
From court to court and lane to lane, under the lights or under the sun, no one delivers Division II sports like NCAA.com. The center of D2 is inside the NCAA.com hub with exclusive highlights of every sport and live broadcasts of every Division II championship found nowhere else. Make NCAA.com yours, the home of Division II college sports.
Welcome back here to Mounties Midweek. Let's continue talking the fall sports preview as let's now move to field hockey with the field hockey head coach, Brittany Hansrote. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
I am so excited to be back doing these. I actually love doing these interviews, so thanks for having me.
So this season, of course, last season, a little bit of a heartbreaker, just a game away from playoffs. How have you used that as motivation this year for this year's team?
I mean, I would say the biggest thing is now we're taking that as kind of like we're more hungry than ever. That's kind of the approach that we're taking. We do return 9 of our 11 starters from last year, so everything's stacking up for us to make it in. And that's kind of the approach that we're taking. Those girls that were part of that program last year, they're like, you can tell there's a difference within their mentality that they are actually like ready to get there and they know they can. So I think it's a shift now. They actually believe it and they know how close they were. So it's that atmosphere and mentality of them just making it happen and making it work. So the more hungry than ever is kind of like a thing we say, but it is our ultimate team goal this year. We want to make it to playoffs and beyond because of how close we were. And then adding into the freshman class that joined on board, I think it's there. It's theirs for the taking this year. They just got to do it.
There's a large contingent of seniors. How important is that, the fact that their growth from where they were when they started to this point now, Obviously, later on down the road, come senior day, we'll talk about what they've meant to the program. But how has that helped that you have this large group of seniors that have seen the program low and have seen this climb start to happen?
Probably too many things for me to explain today. Maybe it's a good time. We'll probably talk later then about them in more detail, but kind of to try and keep it summed up is that they came on with me during my second season. So first season, we did not win a game. Second season, which would have been their first, we won 2 games and then segued right to 2 back-to-back 8 games that we won in the back-to-back past 2 seasons. So they've been a part of that growth. I think that's something they're extremely proud of. I'm proud of, especially from being an alum. So we kind of have that thing in common. So I think it makes our bond and our relationship even deeper. But so they have been that big core group that has really transformed our program, that I knew we could get to this point, and they jumped on board with me back during the recruiting process. And that's something that's like huge, because I can think back to my time being a player and taking a chance and being a part of something really big, bigger than myself, and they did that too. So I know they're going to walk away from here being really proud of what they contributed to this program. And then one more point I want to touch on is the fact that they're such great role models. So it's something that this large freshman class that's coming in, and even the returners that we have something substantial and legitimate to look up to in that senior class, and that they want to, basically they're going to carry that torch over. That's something I really tell the seniors, you have big shoes to fill. I think we're going to be okay. I'm going to cry when they leave, but it's something that they're going to leave the program in such a good place that they can look back and be really proud on that. And then lastly, I just want to touch on the fact that we do have 4 all-conference players within that class. And, who knows how it will go this season, but the talent levels that more of them could and might be all-conference as well. So, and Brittany, our All-American. So what we've done and built is just really something that we're all really proud of.
So you touched on it there, but having those seniors with this freshman class that is coming in, that is a large freshman class that you have, that obviously one day they're going to be the ones to fill that void left by this senior group. But how does that make your life easier in the sense that you have seniors who can lead by example, who you said they can be role models to help these younger players?
Oh, it's huge and it's crucial because it's one less thing off my plate. But also we put in, and I say we because it wasn't just me, it was them as well, put in so much work to get to this point so that now the level of play is so much higher. So it even stretches into practices where I'm not having to go back to the basics and break things down. We did that with them 3 years ago, and it has all paid off now. You can see with practices in the way that we're playing, and even things that I'm trying to implement has become even that much more easier. And then they're playing at such a high level of play with their growth that the freshmen are automatically sort of just forced to be striving to be better and pushing themselves to push harder as well. So it really makes for a win-win situation, and ultimately that's what building a program looks like.
And in addition to the help from the seniors, you also have some new help on the side with you who comes in with a lot of great national experience. Talk to me a little bit about your new assistant.
Oh, Christian, yeah. So we actually have a couple new assistants, but Christian, he's kind of the main one right now since he's here every day. Having him on board is really crucial, I think, especially with where our program's at right now, where last year we did definitely turn that corner as a program. You can see in the preseason rankings that we got that respect this year on where we placed. Of course, we want to go above and beyond that because playoffs, you have to. And I think we will, but I think he's going to really be that missing component that we've kind of been looking for as far as that extra push in a couple areas. He specializes in offense. I was a midfielder, so I kind of cover all areas, but for him specializing in offense, I think it's going to really add some new flavor, some new twists to the mix, especially with our offenders finishing inserts on corners in general offensively. And then we're even trialing some different presses and formations that he kind of brought into the mix so we can kind of blend the two and find out what's best. So I think the coolest thing is to try gather his thoughts and ideas and take those and try to find a really cool blend and add new twists on things that maybe I wouldn't have ever thought of before.
So there's been some new, I don't want to consider them rule changes because I don't think that's, but the changes of of going from halves to quarters, and then of course the time stopping on corners.
Yeah.
How does that adjust your preparation for games?
Well, let me segue Christian right back in quickly. He played the 4 quarters, so up at the U.S. and the national levels, and it's actually an FIH rule, so all across the world that's been a rule for the past couple years. So actually having him playing it and having that experience and then bringing that into the mix, like, okay, this is how it worked for us, or just like him just having the experience in general is really crucial. Because the rest of us have not specifically had that experience. So we did try out in the spring, but again, it's not the same as games. So it's really nice to hear his feedback on it and gather ideas and thoughts there. Like even when you only have 2 minutes between some of those quarters, like what you really want to focus on and how you want to manage that time. So that's one really big plus. And then I think for our sake, it's going to be an adjustment for everybody, of course. So that's like nobody has a leg up, I guess, aside from that. But I think it'll be nice to go to the quarters, so it gives people more breaks. Maybe it keeps the fans more engaged. That's kind of why that is. And I know it shortens it down to 60 minutes, but it still could be longer because, like you said, you're stopping on corners play. So depending on how many corners you go, it could take you back up. You're going to go over 60 minutes in total.
And do you think, and so far what you've seen, the players, is that going to be an easy fix? You have a unique look at this because you can see how this would have changed when you were a player. But how do you think the players are going to see this change of the quarters as opposed to the halves? And how does that really change conditioning for the players?
Well, I think they've been fine with the change and they're open to it. We've already done 2 scrimmages and then, like I said, went through the spring with going through those trials. So I think they're quickly acclimating to it. So I think that their mentality should be okay, but it does change things as far as like strategy and then your subbing rotations. That's the big one from a coaching standpoint, is that subbing rotations are going to change, and I'm still trying to get that down. Again, everybody else is in that boat, so it's not like a huge concern of mine. I think we'll be fine, but that's like the big thing I'm trying to get down is the subbing rotations right now. And then just the game strategy, and because there's no more timeouts as well, so you don't have that in your back pocket to pull at any given moment. You do get your breaks, but that's kind of it. So I think just managing the structure. Conditioning wise, they still want to be in great shape, even though you're getting those 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes. It's not like a huge long break other than halftime. So conditioning wise, we still want them to, that doesn't change as much, I guess I would say.
So the first couple of weeks here of practice, has there been anyone who has surprised you and stood out thus far?
Yes, there has been. It's a loaded question. I'll point to, I'll bring up a good one. I think Hannah Meyer from Canada. She plays at a high level indoor. She's part of the indoor national team. And it's a different game in indoors versus outdoors. So I think for her sake, I wasn't exactly sure how she'd transition into the U.S. game and then to the outdoor field. And she has really surprised me and the coaching staff in the fact that she's ready. She's sound. She really times herself well in defense. She's a defender. So she's definitely one out of that freshman class that has surprised me. And then I would say that none of my seniors surprise me, so to say, because I know how good they all are. Minus one, I'm going to point out, Christy Byer. She worked so hard this past year. I'm not even going to say summer, this past year. And I love her for that because she's so dedicated and she's like all in for Mansfield and wants to make herself and the team better. And I think that that's really, really showing in all of her fitness tests and how she's performing on the field. So I'm really proud of her specifically out of that class. And then with the other returners kind of in the junior sophomore class, I'm not going to point anybody specific out, but like I don't want to lose sight on them. Like I don't want them to get lost in the mix because we talk about the senior and freshman class, but those girls that are in between are like really crucial to our team because they're going to be those next leaders that take over after the seniors leave. And there's some really talented players within that group as well that are the level of all conference, but sort of get hidden in the shadows of these seniors right now. But there's some good talent in there. So don't be fooled by that.
And Coach, we'll get you out here on this, the expectations for this year. We talked about playoffs, but what is grand total, looking at the grand scheme of things, what are your expectations for this group?
Playoffs and beyond. We talked about our team goals. I've sort of said the main ones, so we have some concrete ones set in stone. Our approach this year is to be better than last year, clearly and obviously, but how are we going to do that? And we don't want to talk about it and that's it. We want to put it into action, and that's something our team's really big on. I fully expect them to be in playoffs this year based on how last year went, based on how the growth of this program has gone, based on all conference selections coming back. The list goes on. So they know they're capable of doing it, and I think that the belief is there. So that's your biggest hurdle, and now it's a matter of going out and getting those must-win games and snagging a couple of those other ones to secure your spot. They're going to do it.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you so much for stopping by here.
All right, thank you again.
And Mounties Midweek continues right after this.
As I've gone through school, I've been trying to pay off my tuition as I go, and it wouldn't have been possible without the help of the Mansfield Foundation.
I mean, the Mansfield Foundation already helped me a lot. As of right now, I don't have any school debt whatsoever, and I know the Mansfield Foundation has definitely helped with all the scholarships that I've received over the years for that.
The Mansfield Foundation has helped me out several times throughout my college career. They have helped keep my finances intact.
If you have any sort of instincts, you can get a feel of good people and bad people. Like the people at the foundation are as straightforward as they come.
It's all part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter TIOGA, a 2-county, scenic, outdoor haven, conveniently located, yet worlds apart.
With 10 state parks, 2 federal parks, and over 400,000 acres of state forest land, outdoor recreation certainly does live here, offering hiking, biking, horseback riding, ATV trails, hunting, snowmobiling, cross-country skiing, and so much more.
Close to many urban areas, but far away from the hustle and bustle, you'll feel like you found a hidden corner of the East Coast where you can experience world-class, authentic outdoor adventure. Whether it's a family outing, a personal challenge, or even a leisurely walk, it all takes on a new perspective in these spectacular surroundings.
Follow our gurus through the Step Outdoor series at visitpottertioga.com and start planning your adventures today.
Welcome back here to Mounties Midweek. Let's continue these season previews, and let's talk women's soccer with women's soccer head coach John Schaefer. Coach, thanks for stopping by.
Always a pleasure to be here, Drew.
So this was your first full off season to really work with this team. How has that helped here in the preseason, or how much has that helped in the preseason?
It's been amazing. Our spring season was phenomenal. Really trying to implement our DNA, our style of play throughout the spring semester. They took that into their summer workouts, and we've jumped right back into it this fall. The first week of preseason has just been phenomenal, so I'm so happy.
Last year, I remember you guys using Mansfield 2.0. That was a big thing you wanted to stress. How then have some of the newcomers in really helped continue that push to be, this is Mansfield 2.0?
Yeah, Mansfield 2.0 just meant a culture change, the second coach in program history, and just trying to take the program forward. And the 9 incoming freshmen have really embraced it in terms of the culture, the positivity, the style of play, their work ethic, the prep they did over the summer to come in. So yeah, Mansfield 2.0 is off to a great start from the spring through the summer into the fall. Really excited.
And again, Coach, you've also had some more help here full-time, a new assistant. How much has that helped you, especially having this now full off-season? He's obviously hasn't been here this full off-season, but now having that is going to help this year.
Yeah, Coach Don Tees is has joined me as my assistant coach this year, and it's just been amazing to have somebody here every day who can help with recruiting, who can help with brainstorming, who can help with coaching. He's been working a lot with the goalies, but also doing some individual sessions with some of the field players. He's super big on positivity, just like me. When he interviewed, we immediately just kind of connected with what we believe in, what our core values are. And he's been huge this week. He's been huge this week, helping run our social media account because he has some background in that. So Coach Tees is an awesome addition to the program, and I'm really hoping that we can get him to stick around for a while.
So you talked about him working with the goalies. Obviously the last couple of years, due to injury, that has not been a great thing here. But now that they've been thrown into the fire, you have some experience at goalie, and you bring in a freshman. So what is that experience that a couple of your goalies have is going to help your program in case you need some other one?
Yeah, our goalie situation is better than it's been in the past. Steph Moyer is a sophomore coming back off of having to play most of 15 of 16 games, 14 and a half games as a freshman. So she's been through it, trial by fire.
Yes.
Rachel Fox, fifth-year senior, is coming back off of knee surgery. We're hopeful that we'll have her fit and ready to go for the back half of the season for that experience. And then Grace Kleinman is a sophomore walk-on. She was able to train with us through the spring, and now she's in for her first full preseason, and she's showing some good potential as well. So we have depth at the position, and hopeful that we'll be able to tighten up the defense this year, both with more experience in the goalie position, but also with some more experience in the defense as a whole.
Yeah, it helps too. Stephanie Moore, thrown into the fire, still now has some records. And was one in the top in the country in saves. So that has to be a good feeling for you when you have a record setter in Rachel Fox and now a record setter in Stephanie Moyer.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Stephanie showed her potential and showed her ability by making all those saves last year. But on the flip side, I'd much rather have a goalie not have the save record, just because we peppered her last year. So we need to do a better job as a team of limiting the action that all our goalies see.
So now let's talk about, you brought in a leadership council. Some of the players on the team are part of this leadership council. What is their role? You can say who's on it if you want to, but what is their role for this team?
Yeah, so I follow a leadership teacher. I don't know what you want to call her, but Donna Fischler is her name. And I saw her speak at a national soccer convention multiple times, and it's something that she encourages teams to use. And so leadership council is a way of giving the players more ownership. I want the players to have ownership of the team. Yes, I'm the ultimate leader, but in a way, they need to buy in. And so I introduced the leadership council starting our spring semester. And the team voted on it. They picked 6 leaders from within the team. We have Rachel Fox, Kay McNichol, Chelsea Thomas, Brianna, Cecilia. We have Eleni Gibbia, and then Megan Noon. So we have 6 leaders on the team, and those leaders all have equal representation. I've named the captain, Kay McNichol, as our 2019 captain, but she doesn't have any more say than the other 5. And the way I use the leadership council is I bounce ideas off them. I call them in, we meet, I ask for feedback. We met on Tuesday or Wednesday of the first week of preseason. I said, what am I doing well? What can I do better? And they gave me some awesome feedback and trying to improve that, and it gives them ownership of the team. But I can also go to them and say, here's something I'm really passionate about, like make sure you're to class on time. And it's their job to spread that message through the team and to hold the team accountable. And I think when players are holding players accountable, when players are motivating players, it has way more weight than when a coach is doing it. And so that's the Leadership Council.
And so we talked briefly about the freshmen. Who has really stood out from that freshman class that you brought in, who may have surprised you in these early preseason trainings?
Oh man, this freshman class is phenomenal. It's hard to not name all 9 of them because, to be honest, all 9 are really doing great. Emma Webster, coming in locally out of Corning, is doing great. She seems like she's in line to possibly start at the holding midfield position. Corinne Reinhardt out of Reading, Berks Catholic, is doing great. Brooke Loveland out of Troy is fighting for a starting spot. Karina O'Neill out of New Jersey is doing great. Alyssa Mayberry out of Central Dauphin, out of Harrisburg, is doing great as a backup forward, showing some great potential. And I mean, that's not to short anyone else. We got a couple freshmen that need to work through some injuries and get fit. But really, all 9, the entire class is phenomenal. And forgive me for not naming all 9 because they're all doing awesome.
And how does that help then translate for the upperclassmen, the fact that they have someone pushing them now? Their spot's not guaranteed. How does that help in getting more out of the players?
It's been phenomenal to see competition and how the upperclassmen have risen to the challenge. According to the upperclassmen, this is the first time they've ever really had competition for their jobs. And it's made them handle the summer more seriously and preseason more seriously. And just a great example of it is we did a fitness test the morning of day 1, the beep test, and it was pass-fail. If they didn't pass it, they couldn't train as a team in the afternoon. And so we had 11 girls pass it in the morning, and the girls that didn't pass it had to train with me. There were a couple upperclassmen who didn't pass it in the morning, and so they were doing fitness with me in the afternoon while Coach T's had 11 playing and having fun. And not surprisingly, Tuesday morning, 5 of them got up and passed the beep test. So I think that motivation has driven them in the competition for positions. No one can be comfortable, and that's good.
And Coach, let that lead into now expectations for this year. What are your expectations here for this group?
You know, I'm taking a long-term approach to expectations. The upperclassmen, the seniors, my 8 seniors, they know this. I'm not discounting this season by any means. I want this season to be a positive experience, but with 9 freshmen coming in, we're looking to bring in 12 to 14 2020 recruits. These seniors know that this is a building year, especially with the PSAC splitting. We're in the PSAC East, which is, as of right now, the tougher of the 2 divisions. We play every team twice. Yes. So a lot of our most competitive matches, including our victory from last year, came against PSAC West teams. And so this year is going to be difficult, but I'm embracing it. My expectations are for us to be competitive. I want us to be competitive. I want us to be in every match, and I want us to improve on our style of play and set a precedent for next year and the years going forward.
All right, Coach, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, Drew.
Mounties Midweek rolls on after this. Do not go anywhere.
Part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter TIOGA, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located yet worlds apart.
With 10 state parks, 2 federal parks, and over 400,000 acres of state forest land, outdoor recreation certainly does live here, offering hiking, biking, horseback riding, ATV trails, hunting, snowmobiling, cross-country skiing, and so much more.
Close to many urban areas, but far away from the hustle and bustle, you'll feel like you've found a hidden corner of the East Coast where you can experience world-class, authentic outdoor adventure. Whether it's a family outing, a personal challenge, or even a leisurely walk, it all takes on a new perspective in these spectacular surroundings.
Follow our gurus through the Step Outdoor series at visitpottertioga.com and start planning your adventures today.
From court to court and lane to lane under the lights or under the sun. No one delivers Division II sports like NCAA.com. The center of D2 is inside the NCAA.com hub with exclusive highlights of every sport and live broadcasts of every Division II championship found nowhere else. Make NCAA.com yours, the home of Division II college sports.
Welcome back here to the preview show here for Mounties Midweek. The season previews. Now let's talk cross country as we have the roles, Coach Mike and Michelle Roll here, to talk some cross country and talk this preseason. And your preseason's a little different because you make it also a competition in the preseason. So let's start with that. Let's talk about the Tour de Mountaineer. What is it? How did it start? And then we'll get into results.
So the Tour de Mountaineer started in the fall of 2013. It was an idea I had while watching the Tour de France that summer. And I was thinking, boy, it would be so cool if running races could be long and as involved and have as many intricacies as the Tour de France. And I kind of mulled that over. And, you know, the Tour de France is a 3-week event, and it's 4 to 5 hours a day sitting in front of the television drinking coffee. So you have a lot of time for ideas. And so it was, the first part was in place already, which was the Colton Point time trial. We've been doing it for 16 years, and I was like, that's a great finale. That's like the Mont Ventoux of the, or the Alpe d'Huez. And I was like, we can use that. That could be the grand finale. And then they always start the tour with a time trial. And I was like, that's easy. We always do a time trial at the beginning of the season, a 3,000 meter. And so 2 of the stages were set already. But then it became a matter of what can you do the rest of the week? Because you just can't run hard. Like runners break down, cyclists don't, and there's no drafting. And so you can't go by time. And I was like, you know, what if they scored it by who does things the most right? So if they're supposed to hit 7:30 pace on their easy day, and I want to teach them to run easy on their easy days because sometimes they hammer, what if I gave them points for the person closest to their pace? And then worked it down from there, and then scored it each day. And then from there, it fell in. Then it was like, who could hit an absolute split, who could hit their overall time, who could run without a watch. And so those became the stages of what we now know as the Tour de Mountaineer. And then, of course, there was some quality workouts in there where we try to hit paces again. And then we added categories because it can't just be about one person, somebody gives up. So we added the best freshman, just like the Tour de France. Then we added a climbing jersey, and this is where Strava really has taken off in the last 3 tours. I'm able to use Strava to see who ran up the segments the fastest, rather than me going out and measure it and timing and trying to work all of that. And then we had one for the conditioning, and then we had one for sprinting, which we've learned, because they are really, really competitive, that if we put them on a sprint, they will sprint and hurt themselves. So now it's controlled sprinting. It's targeted, targeted pacing. And so that's how we ended up with the categories. And, you know, we have some great fun with it. And the kids this year were probably the most engaged and most into the competition, exchanging the jerseys, trying to figure out how they could score points. And they probably did this, they probably had more people doing things right than we've had in the past too. They really kind of latched onto that, so that was pretty nice.
For a complete Tour de Mountaineer blog, head over to gomounties.com. Your blog is up there to read all the stages and how it went. It's a good read. Definitely check that out. So let's talk. This year you had a couple of records in the Tour de Mountaineer. Let's start on the ladies' side. Lindsay Payne's the champion, and that's the second time.
Yes, and she's the first woman to win back-to-back. So she got the yellow jersey by the end there by getting a 58-second PR going up Colton Point, and that was great. She broke into the all-time top 15. That was definitely a goal for her. We're really happy to see that. She just ran a very determined solo effort because she was pretty much alone. Well, she had some men to chase, but she was pretty much alone there running that, and she's got to learn how to do that on her own this year, and that's going to be a learning curve for her. But she's running great right now, and she's really probably set up to run a solid 22:30 by the time she gets to Lock Haven.
And then on the men's side of things for the Tour de Mountaineer, you got a freshman winner.
Yes, it's never happened before. Typically, freshmen don't have the discipline to hit all those stages. They can have the talent, obviously, to win the time trial or the Colton Point. But yeah, Kevin Heeman, he comes out of Wyalusing. Coach Jim Schools is an excellent coach. Been there for a very, very long time. He's coming off of a District 4 championship team. They were third at states. He's a disciplined runner. He's a coachable runner. So yeah, he was, he did botch a couple stages in there, but he really learned a lot from that.
Yeah. So let's talk about the team as a whole. You've had this whole Tour de Mountaineer to really see what you can expect from the races coming up. I'll start again on the women's side. Who are some of the other people to keep our eye out for this year?
Well, right now we've had a pleasant surprise with Lauren Emsinger coming in as a walk-on, and she just put in a phenomenal summer of training. Very, very disciplined, still very disciplined now, and just eons higher than we expected her to be. So I expect a lot right now from her, and I think that Bailey Morgan is going to. She was coming off an injury last year, so she had a little bit of rehab to do this summer, but she's coming in really strong, and I think she's going to continue to get better and better. We have all of our freshmen coming in right now are doing better than expected, and I think that they are going to develop. They're not going to be, maybe at the all PSEC range quite yet this year, but they are going to keep developing this year, and they, in the future, are going to be the future of our program.
So speaking of those freshmen, how have they seen the growth that Lindsay has had from her freshman year into now? How have they used, or how have you seen them use that? Not to get discouraged if they're not happy with the time, like on Colton Point, if they're not happy. Lindsay, I think it was 5 minutes is what I heard she has grown her time from Colton Point.
Yeah.
But still,
And
that's
she,
incredible.
Lindsay makes sure that she says to the freshmen, listen, where you are right now, I was there, and look at what I can do now. And they can all look up to Lindsay and say, if Lindsay can do that, Lindsay was a decent high school runner, but she wasn't a standout. And they can look at what they did in high school and say, hey, maybe I can get there too with hard work. So I think Lindsay is a really positive influence on them that way. And she's not afraid to talk to the freshmen and encourage them and let them know that they can get there, and they just have to trust the coaching and the program and stay consistent, and they're going to get there.
And on the men's side, of course, it's always tough when you lose a great runner who's an all-region, a national runner in Ryan Clifford. But hey, you found some freshmen who are pretty impressive for this team.
We have, and I'll have to say, Ryan is out coaching now at Minot State. I've been hearing back from him. He's really enjoying it. We got those freshmen because of the culture that was driven by Ryan's personality, that work ethic, that development. When each of the freshmen came down, typically seniors don't spend a lot of time with freshman recruits, but he made sure he talked with each of those freshmen and laid out for them what could happen here and showed them what he was like as a freshman, which as we all recall, was not very good at all, and showed them what they could do. And we went out last fall. We got on the road. We went to kids' schools. We went to watch them run. We shook the leaves. We found some good kids that fit the Mansfield profile. And then, quite frankly, we got lucky by having Chris Porter find us all the way from Tallahassee, Florida. So, that's just, you go out and you try to do the process right. And sometimes it comes out really good, and it definitely did this year with the freshmen that we've brought in.
And going again to the leadership aspect of things, Quincy and Mobile now stepping up into that leadership role as one of the top runners on this team. How have you seen his growth in just that aspect?
Well, Quincy is never comfortable in the spotlight. He would like to be on the sidelines all of the time. But he has taken over a leadership role of getting out there, putting in the work, and he is the fun, the relaxed, keeping the tension down. And then on the other side, we have senior Travis Keefe, who's the team captain, who's more of the marshal it up, let's go, the total enthusiasm, the loudness that, we're going to do this, don't get down, work hard. So I've got two really good leaders in those two.
And to have that balance, what does that add? The fact that you have the one who can really energize and be fun, and the one who's like, all right, when we have to take things seriously, it's time to do this.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting thing because it's not like, I've not seen this before, so it's not like Quincy's the fun-loving, goofy guy. Like, he's really serious.
Yes.
He's just really relaxed. And it's not like Travis is the over-authoritarian. He's just loud and positive. And so the freshmen respond to both of them. And they admire Quincy for his athletic ability, and they follow Travis because he understands what loyalty to the program is and really values his place here and how much he's gotten out of it. And so they are attracted to that as well.
So now let's switch gears and talk expectations. Let's start again on the women's side. What are the expectations this year for the women's team?
I think that I just want to see the women have an improvement over last year. And I think right now just comparing our Colton Point from this year to last year, we're head and shoulders above where we were last year in Colton Point. And I can see the women are set to be much higher when we open up at Bloomsburg and then over at Lock Haven. And I think they're going to continue to get better. And if we can move up even just a couple places in the PSAC, I'm going to be real happy with where we are this year. And I see that as a really legitimate goal for us.
And then the expectations on the men's side of things?
Much higher. Much higher. Bringing in the 4 freshmen who made an immediate impact. It's tough to replace a Ryan Clifford, but when you bring in 4 really good guys, you can replace a Ryan Clifford. And so I would expect our team places to be much higher. This is, coming off of the Colton Point time trial, this is probably one of the top 3 teams we've ever had, which includes the 2017 that, was nationally ranked and almost made it to nationals. They're almost as good as that. Now we'll have to see what happens out there in the region. There's more Division II schools than there were 12 years ago. I think there's about 80 or 90 more. Our region is bigger. So, it's a little tougher to make it to nationals. But we've all talked about this. Even though we're going to lose Quincy this year, we're going to get as good as we can, but we're not going to go out there and really try to we're not going to break anybody to do it. They're going to train hard. They're going to train smart. We're going to be as good as we're going to be, and that's going to be much better. But we're still looking towards the future because it doesn't do any good to run a freshman into the ground and not have them the next year. And we're really conscious of that. And, we're probably going to see much greater improvement in the track side of things come spring because of that. We'll be much improved in cross, too. So.
All right, coaches, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks, Drew.
Thank you.
Always good working with you.
Yes.
Yep. And Mounties Midweek rolls on after this. Do not go anywhere.
State Athletic Conference.
Oh, what a play!
18 universities.
How competitive is this?
23 championships.
It's over. We have new PSAC champs.
7,100 student athletes. Make the PSAC yours.
My PSAC is passion.
My PSAC is pride.
PSAC is Pennsylvania.
Passion, pride, Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference.
I think that the strengths of the program are the professors.
Actively care about making you a better teacher.
To go into the schools from your freshman year.
We're in the classroom almost every semester that we are here at Mansfield.
From court and lane to lane under the lights or under the sun. No one delivers Division II sports like NCAA.com. The center of D2 is inside the NCAA.com hub with exclusive highlights of every sport and live broadcasts of every Division II championship found nowhere else. Make NCAA.com yours, the home of Division II college sports.
Part of Mother Nature's perfect blend, the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
Thank you so much for watching this special preview episode of Mounties Midweek. Make sure you come back next week as we hit our first full episode of recaps and play of the week. That's going to be a great one. Hope to see you next week.